Hello everyone, it's unkleDestiny back with you. It's time to get the reading for the month of October and see what it holds for us. We are now in the season of fall, which is a period of time where, for those of us, depending on your view of nature, we're going into a more starting to have and go into the hibernative state. So energy may be slower, temperatures may be cooler. This is also the month of October, which is known, depending on your faith system, as a period of time when spirit and the veil is much closer and much thinner to us here. So communication is, for all points, is considered stronger. Now, that doesn't mean it isn't. You can't do it the rest of the time of the year. Equally, we also have a Mercury retrograde going at the end of this month, and in any type of event like this also generates what would best be described as a shadow, and that shadow is going to start appearing more about mid-October. So we're looking at multiple weeks of incredible issues around that are going to be coming up, either around communications, about negotiations, about plan making, and things that we just need to be more conscious of as we are making our deals, making our decisions, and also reflective of our decisions of the past, because Mercury retrograde is a good time to reflect on your choices and your decisions so that as you go forward, you're making newer and better ones. So let's look at what the ancestors and the spirits have to say to help add to this period of time so that you're making as many decisions as possible that are going to be good for you, as well as supporting healthier growth. All right, so we've now thrown the bones, and as you can see, we've got those things that didn't come up on the reading surfaces are not included in the reading, so we do not have the copper piece this time. We have a new number up on the dice. Actually a number that has come up before, which is number 8, and we will get to that. But as you can also see that we've got a number of the bones. It's very cluttered this time. I'd almost call it messy. And that impression comes that October may be a messy month. Now, in what ways it's messy, that's the question. So as you can see, a lot of our main bones are clustered together. And I'm going to say this one is work, this one is family, this one, I get this feeling that this would be social. This one's social, definitely social. And it's also with right now where it's sitting on top of the shell piece, tells me that we're going to be looking a lot at our social constructs, our social understanding, our place in our social structures. We'll just might as well continue there. There's going to be a lot of reflection about what we're going to be doing internally, and it's really an internal assessment about society and our social relationships and our social being. Are we connecting? Are we not connecting? Are we connecting in the wrong ways? Do we no longer feel we connect with the images that are before us? And what is our sense of who we are? What is the sense of our values? Because in this case, spirit's not going to be as present in guiding us. This is really about the choices about who and what we are and what we want going forward. And so this is going to be a lot more of an internal work. Now, over here, like I said, this is work bone, that's family bone. They're crossing again. They're heavily connected. So again, there's going to be the idea that work and our family lives are going to be intertwining a lot in a way that, because we also have the quartz piece next to this, which says that there's also going to be issues of memory. So there's going to be thoughts around this time of year about what's our work, what's in the importance of work, what's the importance of our family, and how are they working together, or as much as I hate to say this, how are they grinding against each other? They can be at cross purposes. So again, we're talking about we're moving to fall and periods around family. So there's the back to school night. There's the holiday, fall festivals, and so forth. There's a sense of difficulties where with fall often comes also the aspect of some work options slow down, people getting laid off, people working less. Therefore, the demand against the family becomes greater. And for some that means family is welcomed and supported. Others it is a struggle. And that may be part of what we're also looking at here as we move into this new period, is that there's going to be continued issues with the structure of family. Maybe that somebody's having to work longer hours to make sure the family's taken care of, and yet they will get complain that they're never home. Equally, there are those who may have problems with the type of work somebody's doing, but it's the fact that they are able to stay, keep sustenance going, and that becomes a question of memories. And equally, the memories of the past. What were the choices that were made to provide for the family that may have either gone unknown or that were never put into the light to help everyone understand? There is a notion, both ones that is both founded and unfounded, that we have to protect our children from the difficulties of life, knowing the truth. And in some cases, that's good, depending on the situation and the age of the child. But especially as children grow older and they become more aware, it's time to start sharing more of the understanding of the situation. And that may mean, and that's where it also comes back to that standpoint of someone saying, you're never home. Well, help them to start understanding why you are making the choices you are making. This is not the idea that somebody is questioning it. This is about preparing them for the future and going out in the world, and the fact that they're going to have to make these choices as well, rather than protect them, because one of the things about growing up is being able to make choices. So it's getting into what understanding and what making those memories, those crystallized memories, what they are, and looking at them from a different angle, and helping others understand some of the other realities and some of the other parts that were part of it. So that's what's going on there. And as we have a number of the support bonds, and there is support in that aspect. So that's why the difficulties that are going to come up between work and family aren't necessarily about strife. They can also be about that reassurance, reconnection of why we are doing things, why are we supporting people. So there's a lot of that. And that's equally here in this sense, too, about the social connection, what it is that it means for us to support each other. And there are those who would say, I support my neighbor as long as my neighbor looks like me or believes like me. No, we are at a point where you need to support your neighbor no matter what. Whether they support you, whether they look like you, whether they believe the same way as you, as long as they are not trying to cause harm to people, you support them. So we have a number of the other bones here which are also supporting, and we have the top of the spine bone, this time with it on the side. So there's some decisions that are going to be coming in. And I'd say this more towards the end of October, which is also going to be during the retrograde, which is going to make this an interesting period, that you're going to have to look not at these situations as what can be sparked, but what's the reality. And not just the reality of the moment, but the reality of the long term. Because we've got the long side of the bone. What is the long term? What's going to happen in a week? What's going to happen in a month? What's going to happen in 6 months? What's going to happen in a year? What's going to happen in 5 years? Those are the things you're going to be looking at. And I sense that they're also, because it's kind of in line with these, it's going to have an effect on, again, the social construct. Now, we're going to go over here to the dice, which was number 8. This is the 8th house. This is about intimacy, sex, bonding, sharing money and property. And again, we have the support bones around it. But what this really talks about is our intimacy. And we're not just talking sex, even though sex is included in this. We're talking intimacy, which is there is physical intimacy, and then there is emotional intimacy. So a lot of times, a lot of the conversations are always about the physical sex, when there's also the subject of emotional intimacy. and, for lack of a better word, emotional sex, which is also that sense of, do we make our partners and those that we are being seen by feel good or feel bad about themselves? Because there's good sex, there's bad sex, and there's mediocre sex. But all of this is also tied into intimacy. And intimacy is, again, not just what we do physically, it's what we also do emotionally. And the biggest key in intimacy is being seen, feeling like we are actually seen as a person, as an entity. The light of our divinity that is within us, that is part of the greater whole, is seen, represented, and supported and loved. That's going to be a very big part of this. And as we are in better connection, both in physical intimacy as well as emotional intimacy, we have better physical sex and we have better emotional sex. And we bond. We build those supports. We build those intentionalities. Now, I said earlier the issue of, I'll support my neighbor as long as my neighbor looks like me or believes like me, is a bond. But it's not necessarily a bond that is easily sustained. It's a bond that could easily be broken as long as there's just something a little different. And a bond of greater intimacy that is both physical and emotional is a bond that is stronger. This is the bond of loyalty. This is the bond of intention. Because let's keep in mind, I know we often talk about that blood is important, that kin is important. There are blood relatives. That's great. But keep in mind, that blood relative you now have, that you are loyal to, that you are supporting, came about because of an intentionality. Somebody else, some other bit of blood had to come together to be able to bring them in there. So it is about working and looking at and supporting that sense of our bonds are not just about physical appearance or belief appearance. This is about what and how we are recognized as beings. And we want to be around those beings that support us, that love us, that see us. Now, the other aspect, too, of the 8th house is sharing of money and property. Now, again, this can also have an effect on not just the work-family standpoint, because it's what's supporting the family, it's the structure in which the family stays in. It's also the social structure, too. How do we allow money and property to define what our bonds are, as opposed to the bonds that we have with each other? Because here's the thing, those bonds that we have with each other can last forever. They can last into other lifetimes. They also can be shattered in a lifetime. Unlike money and property, which can record our memories of it, they don't care what happens. They are just that. They're moving around, their energy that we have put value into. And they don't care about us. We don't have to have an intimate relationship with money. We don't have to have an intimate relationship with our house. Not like think about how easily it might be to switch out the sink or change out the washer dryer or even the roofing. Are you as intimately connected with that? Do you look at it more from the sense of money? These are parts of why we've got to look at those relationships that we have with that, as well as relationships we have with other people, and center ourselves more about the emotional and physical intimacy and bonds that develop as we move forward. So October is really going to be about looking at that bonds, about what brings us together, as we are looking at a period of time where miscommunication can tear us apart, where there are those who are so steeped in the ideas of fear, of maintaining power, or just the simplest aspect of, I hate you, so I'm going to destroy you at all costs, are going to be trying to wield their power. And a lot of these outer bones are talking about the shifts. And most of them are support bones. And guess what? They will support things that are positive. They will support the things that bring us together. They're the things that will bring us about that emotional bonding, that intimacy bonding. But the things that are about destruction and so forth, they're going to come in and they're going to go out. They're not designed for long term. So, that's what the ancestors have to say about the month of October. This is Uncle Destiny. I wish you well. I hope you have a good Halloween, if you practice it, and a good Day of the Dead. Ashe.